pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. Sign-in sheets, pass them around. Get our brownie points, come out to the picnic and redeem those brownie points, participation points. And to get a ticket and then turn the tickets in and see if maybe we might be able to get something for being participating. Ooh,
Right, you present that, that's a parking picnic?
we got to turn first.
He's done these stuff, he knows what he's doing. I'm pretty sure his ideas for it.
Yeah, sure. Let's go back to
You want to say, what is field day?
Let's go to conference.
That's not enough. For that.
Let's go down the hill.
Well, overall, it's a very nice hill. We had a little bit of interesting activity last weekend where, if anyone happened to be listening to the Ocean Fire repeater, you probably heard a single tone come on. That was where the AC power was off to the hill. Apparently, SCG decided to shut off a few circuits up there. So we ran on battery. Everything's going good. Dawn actually made a trip up there to the site here to double check and make sure everything came back online, and from what I understand it did. Otherwise, situation normal. A few little projects we need to work on the hill, but otherwise things seem to be working pretty good.
All right. Don, want to make any comments?
Yes, we found another bad antenna on top of the hill. I was told it was either a 2.4 gig or a 1296 antenna. Not certain what it is yet. The size of the elements from the ground appear to be 2.4 gig.
Okay.
1.2 gigs, I modified it, I know what it is.
I trust Art. We need to make sure we get with Art, make sure we know what we're going to do there instead of
It's not being used anymore, it was part of the link.
link one. Mike's
There's
house.
one of the link, and there's also a conifer up at the top of the tower that can come off too. It's not being used now, it's the other side of the link.
Okay. Do we plan on using them again at some point?
Well, you gotta find somebody to link it to. You gotta get the hardware on both ends. In order to get into LA, you gotta do some kind of around the corner thing. You can't go direct from the side.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to go someplace that has visibility to say Santiago Peak or some other spot in LA. And then you're gonna have a link to that, then to go north. So, current first link was to CMR's house. The second link was to Mike Pennington, and both, and Mike Pennington was moving out of the area, so that's not gonna be a possibility. So, somebody has to step forward, and that's what it's going to happen.
You can see what Mike's house is. Not that I'm very
With the newer TV technology and digital technology, it might just be a lot easier to use.
Okay. All right. Couple things down there. Who, I see Mike's here. Is Charlie here tonight? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah? Hi, Charlie. Am I blind? Well, let's see. I can do things by braille a lot better right
I
now.
have a couple of comments.
Which, please? Holly and such?
My first comment is, why am I getting printed scopes? I'm on
We're happy-
electronic, but 3 of the Poway hams are getting paper.
We're
working on that.
Working on a new mailing.
We're
We're part of the
wasting
new
money.
mailing stuff.
Okay.
We're trying to get all that worked out because of the way we're doing it right
How
now.
many People's Righteous Republic of Poway hams do we have here tonight? Raise your hand. Yay. I think we're about to overtake the number of members of PARC. I couldn't make it last month, and I'm sorry that I won't be at field day, but it was a choice between that corner and Venice, Italy, and I'm kind of.
We're field day for Venice.
It depends on how much wine I've had before I start. Chianti.
Well, let's see, and
But at least we can run multi-KW and nobody cares.
Ham radio,
I really want to thank those folks who showed up at the Poway antenna meeting. We're moving in the right direction. I heard from two of the city councilmen that they were stunned by the amateur radio turnout. You know, politicians count noses and then they multiply times 4.7 pi to the third power. How many votes they're gonna get. And the elections in Poway are decided by about 30 votes. So when hams show up, and I'm saying this because when you get requests from San Diego, Carlsbad, showing up in mass is important. Because that's how we carry our weight. And since our numbers are going down, 285 in PARC, is that the number in the scope?
that's possible.
Remember when I was president, we had 740, that was 8 years ago, so.
We were pushing 1,000.
Yeah, so we're not getting any younger. Even I have gray hair. It's time to start recruiting those kids and get them involved. So where we stand, the city of Poway is going to hold the next city meeting about the amateur radio antenna permitting. The first city council meeting in August. And I forget if that's the first Tuesday or the second Tuesday of the month. I'll be sending out requests that you turn out in droves again. We'll have hot dogs and refreshments. Jim Cunningham, who stabbed us in the back, thought that that was the coolest thing he'd ever seen at the city hall was when we had the hot dogs for everybody. So I do want to encourage you to come out and support us. Now I want to switch gears, and you're not expecting this, so you're going to have to put up with some trouble. Working with the Poway hams has brought back to mind PARS, the Poway Amateur Radio Society, that I understand at one time numbered some 140 people. When we started this campaign, we were down to 8 people who showed up at the little breakfast that we had. And we're kind of growing the group again. But the reason I say that is because I think you have to recognize that membership in an amateur radio club brings a whole bunch of things that are important. You get services out of it. Those of you who like repeaters, if PARC didn't exist, no mountain. Sessions like this, operating days, that takes a lot of work to do something like that. So I have some concerns about our health and welfare. I see us down to some 250. My comments now have nothing to do with excoriating anybody. That if you read the scope in detail, there's a bunch of stuff in here that tells me the club may not be as healthy as we think it is. And I'd like to have the board tell us a little bit about what's going on funding-wise. I saw $1,200 expenditure on some kind of insurance. I don't know why you spent that money on insurance. I have no doubt that there's a valid reason. We'd like to know what it is. There are some comments about worrying about insurance to take the towers and antennas to the field day site. When I was president and vice president, we never had those problems. So I'm guessing that it's an insurance problem. I don't know how much $1,200 is relative to the massive funding that we have in the treasury, but I doubt that it's that flush. And so we need to start thinking about what those things mean. Why did the board decide to spend $1,200 on self-insurance? I don't know what that means. And we need to take that seriously because if you have to come up with $1,200 per year for self-insurance, then my question question is, how long does the club last before we go broke? And what are we putting in place to replenish that kind of money? So, in the interest of maybe giving us some transparency, my question is to the board, tell us a little bit about what's going on. It looks to me like bad news.
Okay, so the bad news is not as bad as it sounds. That's the good part. All right, if you go to year expenses, we're like within $100 up and down. The good thing is we've had estate sales. Ron has helped very much with those. People who have passed, unfortunately, have left their equipment. They've asked the club to help take care of that. They've donated to the club, they've asked for assistance selling it, and Ron's been a big help doing that. He's had a couple others that have assisted here. I think John's helped out there, and I've helped out, and a few others. And some of them are nice enough to donate the proceeds of the estate to the club. So that's been a small benefit.
So how much is in the treasury? Roughly. Roughly.
14,000? I got it in the envelope over here, if you want me to look, I'll let you look. But year to year, we're not losing or gaining to speak of. Okay, that's one of my big concerns, is making sure we're not going negative. The $1,200 is every year, instead of paying an insurance carrier $600 for their profits, it was a decision
Long time ago.
98. That was before you term.
Well, I don't remember that we were self-insured. I remember that we had an insurance policy with the carrier.
There's another insurance policy. Okay, there was a liability insurance that you pay every year based on participation. And that's approximately $350. We had a property insurance that was $600 a year. May have been the same carrier, may not. It's been that long ago, before Dennis, probably before Charlie. But
Okay.
it was a current year period too. So instead of paying an insurance carrier $600 for their profits, and getting no results, because we've never filed any claims, and we've never had, well, we've had one loss that I know of, which was the first repeater that we ever bought as a club. And they decided to pass the hat, and they had that replaced in short order. But they didn't dip into an insurance claim or additional funds for that. So they're taking that $600 they pay to someone else, and they're putting it into a set-aside account every year, adding to that fund. So in case something does happen, you know, we have some money to go back and do it. Typically, as hams.
So the self-insurance amounts to $1,200 a year that goes into a fund, and if we don't use it, it stays there.
$600 per year. We didn't put in the prior year because we had treasurer problems.
So how much money is in it now? And how much will that cover you if you get sued?
Well,
That would have nothing to do with being
That's
sued.
property insurance.
That would only be property.
Okay? That's all right, I get the picture, I think everybody gets the
Look
picture.
here for
So that's $1,200 times however many years.
Years.
$600.
It's 600, it's 600 a year.
$600 a year that we set aside for it.
Okay, so it's a lot of money.
So it does add up, and it's, you know, like I say, instead of paying the insurance carrier for no return,
Okay.
we're at least stockpiling our own. So that's $1,200 was last year, and this year's allotment. Yes, Paul?
Can I make a suggestion then? You know,
Yeah.
December's kind of a social thing, and how about the club board, by the time December comes up, put this together. Either you have a sheet that you can hand out, that's a P&L sheet, or something you put up on the board while everybody's socializing in December, and then that's your once a year profit loss statement and health of the club. 'Cause
How about if I get you a year, January to December, and I'll get you the recap of the whole year?
I think that would be useful to
Well,
a lot
and
of
we'll put it
members.
in
We've
paper.
not had a treasurer report for a long time, so.
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
Why doesn't?
Once that starts again, you'll be out of that.
Why doesn't the board just publish the monthly expenses in
They're supposed to.
website?
As we said. One of the things that we have initiated just recently is the board minutes are on the webpage.
But that, the board minutes aren't the treasurer's, isn't the treasurer's books. If there are numbers every month that show how much you send the treasurer every month.
But I think the bylaws require that you publish a treasurer's report in every scope, and you haven't been able to because we have a problem with the treasurer.
That has now been corrected.
I
So
understand.
now, I can tell you here, as of, Joe found one of the end of March. And I know we've had some since then, it's just random access right now. At the end of March, our checking account was at $4,613 and change. There's a savings account that had $1,197 and change. PayPal floats up and down, that's where people are doing payments on dues and such. And post office has a small allowance because they love taking money out for the school. Our self-insurance as of the end of March was $8,041.
And that was after we rolled it and put the,
That was after?
I think so.
Yeah, that was after we rolled, because I can see where the other one's closed here. Okay, so that was after that $1,200 exchange. The other one is at $4,541 a couple cents, with total assets of $18,398 and a couple pennies. Okay, so our year-to-year number is staying fairly constant. That's been my major goal for the last few years.
Okay.
I don't want to go negative. Hell, I could work this thing.
As long as I hand it to you with the sheet.
Oh, I know.
You have an ATM card?
Okay.
Joe,
Excuse me?
You have an ATM card?
No.
Vegas?
I don't, I wish I did. Our liabilities, okay, our liabilities comes down to prepaid dues. And we have $4,371 in prepaid dues at that time.
What is the city Carlsbad
Because you guys are so good and you respond to the city's wishes, and if you'll help them when they ask for it, they have not charged us anything.
is that right?
That is correct. You pay $0 for this room.
Right.
Lighting, air conditioning that we're not getting. The projector back there that goes multicolored, especially in the same spot. No, we don't pay anything for the room. This was got in by, somebody was with the fire department at the time, with the club. He got us in, and we've been going in, and I very nicely talk to these people every year, and they're very nice about letting us come in. The only thing they ask is we put the room back as we find it when we come in. And I've offered, if they just tell us what the room setup for the next day is, I've offered to do it, and they have not asked us to do it. Okay? So anyhow, after we take out the liabilities and prepaid due, our net equity is $14,027 and change. I don't have it on this one. Joe might be able to find it. I got other stuff in there, and I got all sorts of stuff from last year. I got last 4 years accounts in there.
The only reason I'm asking is because I haven't seen an actual treasurer's report in scope for months,
Probably over a year.
over a year. And if this club is gonna operate as a club, it's got to be, it's subject to its members. And if its members aren't being informed, then what's the use of having a club in the first place?
This is why I want to answer your questions. Anytime you ask, I want to answer the question as fast as I can.
Well, that's,
So,
you know,
again, and like you say, having it in here is getting closer and closer. I got numbers I can give you every time now, which is really better than last year, that are accurate.
So is there ever a problem with the treasurer taking one?
No, just the treasurer being able to fulfill their duties because they have personal needs
Okay.
that overrode their ability to help with the club.
Okay.
So there was no problem about finances, it was just they had other needs at the time.
Okay.
So like I say, our year-to-year is doing good. I'm always concerned about that, that's my biggest concern.
So what's the flat over insurance when taking the towers?
Becomes liable because the tower quote belongs to the club. and it's taken on personal equipment from one location to another location. And it was felt that that caused the club to be liable. Now, if you go back to your vehicle insurance covers your vehicle, the driver of that vehicle, who's driving that vehicle, and any towed vehicle. I'm sure Bob knows well about towing that trailer. He has to have adequate insurance to cover your trailer. That is part of that towed vehicle, belongs to that insurance carrier, that driver. There was,
The club would pay the deductible,
that would be something the club may want to offer maybe, but that's an individual.
Liability
item.
insurance doesn't have to
Right.
But this would be, if it's on a trailer, attached to a vehicle, being pulled, it is on that vehicle and that driver having adequate insurance.
And it's usually on
It's a club member
a club
that
member.
drives these things for us.
Right.
And our club members, we like to make sure that, they're decent. I'm sure Rick out there has some very good insurance for his vehicle. He's been nice enough to tow the trailer with the towers. Same thing is when Brad or Conrad tows my tower trailer if I'm not doing it. That's covered, and they're covered as individuals. There was a concern that that was going to put the club into a liability.
Did the tires on the trailer ever get resolved?
I have to say no, but yes, because I've been busy the last couple of days. I've had a pretty bad day.
I have to say no, but yes.
No, it has not been resolved as of today.
Okay.
By this time next week, I hope to have everything taken care of. I had a bad night the other night, which you guys probably saw on TV. Somebody parked their tractor trailer and kissed another one up there at Acadia.
Well, that was yesterday's package jam.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm still recovering.
You were involved in,
I got called out at 1:30 in the morning. We got done placing that and getting everything cleaned up at the yard at 1:30 in the afternoon. That was just on the trailer we did.
Thank you for being a good first responder.
Just what I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions, please?
They have their own.
Dennis, I just wanted to say that I've been the head of the volunteer nonprofit organization, and we know it's a thankless job, and I'd like to, I think most of us agree, we owe you a debt of gratitude and thanks, and the rest of the board.
But the questions like Charlie has here, needs to be going in the right direction so we can get everything that you guys need together in one place.
Charlie had a two-part question.
Okay.
The last part was the health of the financial health of the club, but he also talked, I believe, about the general health of the amateur radio hobby. Is Sandar going to be doing anything at the Palomar Fair this year?
No.
That's not good.
Okay, what? Yes. Last year's property taxes, Tom and everyone else, $253.
Per year.
We pay that amount
Once.
annually.
Once a year?
Yep.
Annually.
Okay.
It's in October.
We have 1/3 of an acre on top of Palomar Mountain, $243,
$253.
$253.
Actually,
Annual
that was
payment.
2 years ago.
That covers the buildings and tower.
That's the property tax, period. That's property. We do have a water assessment fee because we are a member of Palomar Mountain Mutual Water Company.
I don't either, right?
We have a share. We do not have a meter. We do not have anything coming off the main, which is in the driveway in front of the block building. Got that figured out. But we have no T connection, we have no meter, we have nothing else beyond a share in the company. The share of the company is a very important thing. We may or may not use it, but we want to maintain that share. They have occasional assessments, which I think are $40, $50 a year right now. That's kind of nothing in my opinion. They actually have that side up on top of Palomar Mountain. I'd be willing to pay that. Not only that, but it keeps us in good standing with those people up on top of the hill, the fire department, the water, all those people up there. So, comes in very nice.
Just a comment about the Palomar Fair and amateur radio representation. As far as I know, the only group that's going to be out there is Lakeside Club on 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Okay, that's more than I've heard.
Okay, 'cause, yeah, I talked.
Sandart did have a booth at Lakeside, or Santee Street Fair.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, they had a double booth, it was 2 days. They listed expectations of 100,000, the Santee site listed 60, 65,000. Either way, there was a lot of people that came and had the ability. We sent some material down there for them to use to advertise for our group, Palomar. We sent down a storyboard that had, we made a white one that had different things about the club, a few pictures, and kind of the coverage.
Yeah, we sent down to Mark and
Yeah.
Gibbs as well, flyers.
Oh, yeah. We had other flyers there and stuff because I had it from the other groups. So they got that too. We sent down some US flags. We sent down a table skirt, which they decided maybe they didn't want to use because it says Palomar here and club down here. But it does say big amateur radio right in the middle. So they decided not to use that. That's okay.
I went by the booth, looked good.
Yeah.
We need to get over to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's good.
went-
At least you showed up down
I
there.
haven't worked the booth on Sunday yet,
But is it?
but there, yes.
Where are the materials now?
I don't know, Joe Hell maybe?
Joe, they were giving to Joe, so we'll get it back from Joe.
Probably Joe and Joe.
Okay.
And 6 minutes, and 6, that's
Okay.
Okay, Joe, any breaks for that, that'd be nice. Conrad, were you going to use it this weekend?
Wasn't intended this weekend, no.
Okay, so we got a few more days. Yes, Ron?
Okay, on a different subject,
Sure.
a lot of you may remember Steve Venner was very active at the Years Club and did a lot of
Oh,
programs
yes.
for us. And I was fortunate he wound up moving back to Britain. I was fortunate enough a month or so ago to have dinner with him and his wife. And he asked me to make an announcement, send his regards to everybody in the Palomar Club and tell you that he misses us.
Cool. Appreciate that. Steve also still
Yeah.
puts together the Ears newsletter.
Great, nice.
Hey, the net goes all over the place. Charlie?
You asked a question that I want to comment on. Anybody remember the call sign for Art Goddard? I don't know the name very well. Your question about ham radio kind of made me think, and one of the reasons I'm asking the questions, because I think having a healthy club is very important for us to maintain amateur radio as we know it and hope that it morphs into the future. I got exposed to a presentation by Art Goddard at Pacificon last October. And since then, I've been watching this at the ARRL. I had a couple of meetings with the senior leadership at Dayton, and we're hoping that they're going to sprinkle some money on the Poway effort. But we still need money, by the way, and we're going to be asking for that because we have to pay our lawyer. A lot of you are involved in ARES. How many are involved in ARES? How many are involved in races? How many are involved in CERT? There is a move beginning in Washington by our esteemed leaders that changes the demographic or the emphasis for amateur radio. This all started with 9/11. If your organizations don't have formal training, if you can't prove that your ARES group or RACES group has a series of courses that you have to take and that you practice the way you're supposed to operate, if you think that in the future, in an emergency, you're going to show up in the middle of an emergency and say, I'm a ham radio operator, how can I help? Homeland Security people are gonna, first of all, probably knock you down. Second of all, probably put you in jail because they don't know who you are. We are moving to an era where emergency responders have to be recognized by the law enforcement agencies. And the only way they will recognize is if you have a definitive demonstrated capability where you have, as in the military, we said, we train the way we fight, and we fight the way we train. So when I hear that ARES net on Sundays, I laugh because you're kidding yourselves. Half your people don't show up. A third of them check in early and don't bother listening to anything that's going on. You're kidding yourself. ARES is useless. In Poway, Palomar Hospital, never participated, to the best of my knowledge, in an ARES drill. The times that there's been an emergency drill done by the county of San Diego, which they're required to participate in, they didn't know about the drill until the day after the drill, and they were asked, where was your emergency communications capability? So, the reason I'm saying this is we gotta pay attention. Amateur radio has a definitive role to play in a lot of things, emergency being one of them. That article in the Scope about NBEMS, very interesting. I saw a demonstration of that back in Dayton. And it's a capability that when everything else collapses, the hams can provide. But if your organizations haven't been recognized by the people who need your services, don't expect to show up when the bomb went off and say, I'm here. A lot of hams got turned away in the Boston Marathon. Nobody knew who they were. And as far as the law enforcement agencies are concerned, the amateur who shows up with a handy-talkie can be wearing a bunch of bombs to blow up the next group of emergency responders. So you gotta pay attention to that.
I got a quick question on your ARES group to actually get done. The visitation's down, actually. It's been that way for the last 4 years.
I'll comment on that then. There is action going on in the ARES group in San Diego to get this working. Every week you hear the announcement, get on the website, get on the Yahoo group, get your stuff registered at least so that we can call you and put you in some general area that doesn't require ID. For the people that are going to go into facilities, anything like a police station, a fire station, a hospital, anything inside basically, it may even go to shelters. I don't know how far they're going to push this. They're going to have a picture ID, ARES picture ID with your name and a picture on it to get into any facility. Some facilities will require their own IDs to get in as well. Now, we are working on getting everyone in ARES that's registered to get those picture IDs. It's coming down the road. And in fact, what Charlie's saying is right. You're going to be probably going to be turned away. Even if you have a picture ID, you may be turned away. Even if the facility doesn't require their own, you may be turned away because they don't know that you're who you say you are. That they may. We're also working on a facility to transmit your name down to the facility that you're being sent to, so that when you show up, they go, "Oh yeah, he's coming. He mentions his ID. He's good." So that's the way it's going. And Charlie's right. You know, a lot of people check in on Sunday morning, but many of them aren't really ARES members. They need to be. You need to all have your information on the website. And as Charlie said, there's 3 courses you need to take: the FEMA courses on incident management. Those are great, and those are going to be required to get the IDs when they do come down.
Those courses you can do kind of on your own with a certificate.
They're online. You can do them in about an hour each.
Okay. All right. We're going to kind of comment on operating day that I didn't go to, but we got some pictures that were there. In the back, Joanne loves waving because she likes to to make sure people are going to go see her. I said Joe.
Joe, thank you.
Excuse me, anyhow, past member, good member, past president.
Future president.
Would be nice, but I'm not sure. Stan Rohr, W9FQM, has been having some recent issues with some ailments. Ailments have now come to where they have taken his other leg. I don't know the extent of that. I don't know if Jill wants to comment, but she has a card back there. And for anyone that knows Stan, wants to wish him the best, be kind enough to go sign that card, and she'll get it delivered to Stan one way or another. Okay, so she's at the back there. See her before you go. She'll stay a few minutes.
Okay, I have one other thing.
Yes.
We had our regular VE session on Saturday. We got 1 new extra, 5 new generals, and 7 new technicians.
Very good. That's encouraging. Let's get them into the clubs to help participate. We just mentioned some of the actions at Sandart also. They had participation out in Stampede Street Fair, but they're not doing Delmar Fair. And that was overall club's decision, not members of Sandart. There was an overriding decision that says they felt that their time spent could be better elsewhere. Probably so, but in the supporting the amateur radio, it's kind of hard to say that that would be the right choice. The other part is actually getting membership to come out and do that. So if we would like to actively pursue it next year, we could bring it forward to send up and say, hey, we got people that are really interested in it. And the other choice is, if they don't want to, we as a club could go down and participate, write the request and do participation down there. So, if membership wants to do it, we'll do it one way or another.
Yep. Could be just people willing to help and volunteer to go out, because that's usually the biggest issue for most of the events is people who come down and hit them.
In the past, they were able to get, because they were disc players, they were able to get free access into the park or into the fair. They work half a day for them to enjoy.
Can we operate field day next year for the fair?
Maybe, not sure it's the best choice as far as location. It's not like you're going to be able to get people to come see you.
Oh, we're needing a location next year, isn't it?
Right.
And
Mr.
there's been questions about whether you can get 24-hour access at the fair.
Good questions that we'll start asking. Okay? We do need a site next year for field day. We do have one this year, so last year we'll be able to use that place. If they will allow us to come down there and participate, I wouldn't argue. Might be a little bit hard to get it over those hills under 35 feet.
What about Double Peak Park?
That is not good as far as the city is for a field day site. They don't want anything overnight, and they said our participation at field day kind of stretched it last time, or operating day when we were up there. So we stretched a little bit far. But they didn't say no to operating day.
That would be a killer location.
Yes, we would. Okay, so
Yes,
we do know there are different ringtones available. Another thing at Sandark, if you saw in the scope this month, which I did receive, hopefully everyone else got it received, maybe a few more than should have received it. We've been having deals with the printer. The printer's doing additional things for us. They're printing it. You may have noticed that it's pre-printed labeling now. So this is part of the issues we're going through. We're trying to get that cleaned up so it's all correct. So if you got one that you weren't supposed to, give Al a little message. Or if you missed one and you think you should got one, same thing, give Al a message. And we'll try and get those corrected. We're trying to get that even so we're only spending what we need to. Did I lose something when I did it? Oh, you were looking at the scope message about Sandark having delegates are able to do lots of things to represent their team, club, and they take all these actions, but the one action they can't do is they can't ask to look at the minutes, past minutes. Okay, so this has kind of been a little ongoing thing. It's been a nice request at first. It's like, hey, can we take a look and see? I want to learn, I want to understand, you know, I got questions that, you know, that just aren't making sense. The same way as somebody asked me questions, I give them an answer right now. They've been asked a question a year ago and they still can't come up with an answer, other than they believe that they did something wrong somehow, which I don't think so, but whatever it is. So next year, we're kind of asking if you want to endorse a request as a club, because they said that request now has to become as a club. Even though your delegates represent the club, they can't make that request. So maybe next month you would consider if you want to agree with that or not.
So what is it that we're trying to, what is it that you want to do? You want to send a request from the club asking Sandar to reveal their.
Allow us to look at minutes, past minutes.
So I make a motion.
I can't do it this month because of the way our bylaws are structured.
That we
Next
have
month we
set
can.
up next month to make that something that we do. I mean, if we're participating in something. So the motion is that the club move forward to request Sandar transparency in their minutes.
So we'll do that next month, so we comply with our part of the
Well,
rules.
you're a second.
Seconded.
We can't actually handle motions at the floor because of all the bylaws and state law is written. If you don't have at least 30% of your club at a meeting, you can only handle items that are noticed in advance. That's why we put it in scope this month to meet Madam Uniform, require notice
Right.
for next
So
month.
then this is in future anticipation, so we get properly notified. So then we got printed copy to those that requested, and we got, you know, email copy to them. Okay, I know we're moving along pretty good. Let's see, we did the Riverside, North County fires, there was only fair traffic on our repeaters. We didn't have any big traffic like we did in the other years with the 2003, 2007 fires or the blackout. That was kind of nice in a way, but if you listen to Fallbrook's repeater, they had a lot of stuff active right next to them in the city with Camp Pendleton and San Luis Rey River with Bonzo. And they were very, very active. But ours had a minimum of use. There was no request for any direct nets on them or anything else. There was,
Dennis,
sir.
what was interesting about that was I was watching the traffic on internet about Aries, and we got that close to being called up, but they didn't, because there wasn't a bunch of shelters and things that were needing to be run. So the traffic didn't come up because the organizations weren't activated.
No, I'm not saying they weren't activated. Like I
They
said,
weren't.
we did not
I'm saying they
receive their
weren't. We didn't
request.
get called up.
Right.
But he's talking about what the club does and what the club, because during the 2010 fire, the club had its own net.
There was, yeah, there was so much traffic that we ended up starting a self-control net.
Yep.
Right, and none of the organizations can just come up and take our repeater and use it for emergency traffic without asking us first, regardless of what our esteemed, president seems to not.
We're gonna do the other way around. If they come up and they use it right away, and we're not arguing too much, we just want them to contact us,
Yeah,
so we know who the point of contacts are. And then we just keep on rolling. It's not like we're gonna turn any survey and seal away. But we do let them know that, hey, there are requirements we have to make too.
But we do charge them by the minute, right?
I try. John?
Dennis, I just wanted to mention, I monitored Fallbrook extensively during the fires. They did a spectacular job in managing the channel, in having effective communications, about verifying with boots on the ground activities, and they just did a spectacular job. So if anybody was here on that repeater that day, you guys did a great job.
I'm going to say Fallbrook is very, very experienced. Their areas group is fairly independent in the county. I mean, they are used to this. They do it so often. It's a shame they have to do it so often, but they really know how to handle themselves in the event. They're the level to look at when you want to see where you should be as a person.
Live next to penalty, you get fires. Okay. In fact, Fallbrook's having a meeting Saturday. They're gonna come, review the air fire stuff that they did. And one of the things that was offered is Fire Prevention Day is supposed to be coming up October. One of the things, one of the guys up there is suggesting, this is a good time to hit the kids, the other ones like that, with something to help get them interested at the same time. So I talked to Joe here a little bit about what other events are coming out. I'm looking at Fire Prevention Day also on Arbor Days. Things to be out in the public. So with that, I don't have anything else here. John, should I tell us about the goodie table? There seems to be a few things there tonight.
Yeah, we've got rid of some of the stuff already, of course. AK6R has a number of items for sale, but he's also got a fair number of donation items too. I did see a price on the TR 7800 here. Is this the club donation?
That's a donation from me, club donation.
Club donation, okay. It's a little rough, but they're good packet radios or perhaps APRS, something like that. I don't think it has PL in it though, right?
I don't believe so. The manual was what I think.
Yeah, I see the manual with it. Anyway, AK6R has some goodies here. There's some other club things with some steel case parts. And this is a battery charger for a commercial type. But if I see it and I look at it here, these have individual tubs. And you unscrew the tub and you can plug a different tub in there for a different radio. So it looks to me like these are convertible to other radios, but I also see a nice price on them too, so it's just something to be considered.
They're free.
Oh, the prices?
No, the prices were from an old.
Oh, the old one, oh, okay. Whenever I see a price on something, I assume that's the
all the
price.
prices, those are club donations.
Okay. And then last but not least, I brought a 450 handy-talkie. It needs a fresh battery pack. I put some batteries in it just to make it work. But it would be good for parade communications or some kind of short distance thing, but it does not include a PL generator. So it's kind of stock order feeder service.
The Motorola radio there?
Motorola radio?
Is that a fixed price or what?
No, there's no prices on the Motorola.
No, the radio. Because this has a price on there also.
Yeah, no, the prices were from
Well, now it's half.
So it does pass the drug test. No, that one doesn't take a key.
Cables.
No, I asked if he has cables.
No,
No, you put it in right
you
on
see
there.
it right there.
Just label it, you put it right on. That's just a. Okay.
You did the shake test on it.
Yes. Well, like I say, I'll take it home if no one else will. Okay. That's the goodie table, so. Introductions, if you want to call it that. We have Don back at the camera over there, WD6 FWE. Repeater tech over here is KG6JI comrade. Our scope editor who makes nice scopes. You did, good. That's Michelle, W5 NYV. Our director back here is John, WA2 OOB. Building director, Greg. That guy from that shirt, stuff shirt. Okay,
You gotta listen to for this.
Membership chair at the back table will take care of all your membership needs. He'll help get your scopes kind of printed or unprinted as you ask. W6 GNI. And I can't see a beautiful wife there, Kathy. She's always with them helping. Treasurers, Kim, K6 KIW. Is she here tonight? I haven't seen her. She's making beautiful reports on treasurers. She cleaned all that stuff up. So I can actually get new reports. Get them in the paper now. Secretary in the back, NE60, Jim, has that nice, it's not umbrella antenna, X antenna.
Speak.
And then
Clothesline. Clothesline.
Vice President over here is Joe, K6JPE, in country. Myself, KD6 TUJ, President, last year, only until December meeting. Okay, at the end of the meeting, there's not going to be no more, at least in the president's slot. I would like to maintain my somewhat lifestyle that I have right now without being abused.
I would like his wife not to kill me, which is where the threat's going.
She got mad at me because she said I threw her under the bus because it was actually printed in here this month. She was going to come in and start yelling at people. Do we have any visitors tonight? Any visitors?
Yes.
Want to stand and be recognized? Always enjoy visitors.
Hey, how are you from?
Little level two.
Hi, I'm Rainier K6AQ. I'm actually lived out in San Diego. You know, I found out about this from Fry's operating day, and I just finally got around to coming out there. So
Excellent, very good.
Thank you for coming. You're from Santee. I don't know why you moved to Santee, just to get more driving time on the Jeep, I guess.
Cheaper, more space, you
More
know,
off-road capabilities.
hotter.
Well, I understand that the radio in the closet didn't work as well. So, any other visitors tonight?
KB6 NUL, San Marcos.
Hello. Glad you could come. Okay. Any changes in operating classes lately? Not yet. We're going to have to see Joe, or we're going to have to see Ossie here soon to get some more upgrades. Okay. With that, I'm going to give you Greg. Yeah, oh, what? Joe. Who what?
That quick announcement you owe me, do you remember?
Oh, I owe you a quick announcement. Thank you, because I can forget real easy.
The announcement is about our fundraiser in Oceanside, but because it was brought up about the service agencies and Charlie's point about training, I'm not sure if anyone is aware or cares, but our CERT organization in Oceanside is growing. We're getting stronger. We're taking training very seriously. And we were actually activated for the first time in our tender history at the end of Fire Week. On Friday afternoon, they put out a call using our robocall system to the Oceanside CERT membership, and 20 members did turn out at El Camino High School to back up the Red Cross at the temporary shelter that they were putting there for evacuees from Camp Hamilton. So it was the first ever. The mobilization worked. They did close the shelter down after an hour and a half because it wasn't required, but it's nice to know that, you know, you prepare for things, and every once in a while maybe life throws you a curveball and you got to be able to hit the ball out of the corner. So it's a tip of the hat to all the serving agencies who were putting their time into supporting the public and supporting the first defenders out there doing that. It was a tough week for everybody. So the announcement is Oceanside CERT, to continue our role, is hosting a fundraiser on June 14th. It's a Saturday. It's the day before Father's Day. Perfect way to have your family take you out if you're a father. And it's from, Linda, you're our fundraising chairman. Would you like to fill in on the details?
It's from 8 to 10, basically, on Saturday the 14th. So the cost is $10 and $5 goes back to our CERT group. So basically you get breakfast, you get pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage, coffee, orange juice.
And it's going to be where?
Applebee's in Oceanside, right off the Vista Way.
Right in front of Best Buy. Right in front of Best Buy. You've got Mimi's Cafe, Best Buy, Walmart right there, just north of the 78 freeway.
Okay, it's flag day. You want to put flags out?
We are.
We're going out there, and we'll be at a CERT trailer in the parking lot.
Do that if you want.
Yeah, you'll see our CERT trailer with all of our beautiful faces on it.
Linda's done a great job on this. We're trying to sell 200 tickets. We have over 100 tickets sold, and the place is exclusively ours. It's all of, not just ham radio, it's Oceanside CERT, anybody that's interested in serving the families. Thank you.
Okay. Oceanside also has a low-level repeater that covers pretty good in the Oceanside area. It's typically somewhat just search use. I don't know if it's open at all.
It's an open repeater. During
Okay.
time of emergency, CERT, of course, is going to have first crack at it to support the city agencies.
And just because he's holding a roll of cat wire, we're playing a few games in Oceanside trying to string more things along. So we'll have more notice on that probably next month and let you know how that goes. We've got a test system in process right now. in a couple of days. Okay? Last chance? All right. Relatively young for amateur radio, yet he's done a lot for us already. He's done field day for us for coordination for a couple of years.
Is that what it's called?
Well, that's one thing that it's called. And there's extra voice for those that can't hear you. So I will give you to Greg and he'll let us know what's going on with field day this year. Maybe.
All right, good
You can
evening,
see he's
everyone.
got the wrong logo up there because it's raster like somebody else's.
So do we need the microphone?
No.
What? Oh. We need power, not a mic. Field Day 2014, Palomar Amateur Radio Club. This year we're going to talk about what is Field Day. Of course, when is Field Day? That might be a help to some of you who might show up. You might want to know what it is if you don't know already. Our location, how we're going to be operating there, who our band captains are, our site layout, we'll talk about that. Safety at Field Day, our goal to have the Boy Scouts do a radio merit badge again this year, and the food that will be provided, and of course we'll wrap it up with any questions you might have. So what is Field Day? You may have heard this before from previous years, but the ARRL says Field Day is the single most popular on-the-air event held annually in the U.S. and Canada. On the fourth weekend of June each year, more than 35,000 radio amateurs gather with their clubs, groups, or simply with their friends to operate from remote locations. So, we've always had this big over-looming question, is Field Day a contest? Well, for the answer, I'll let you refer to the previous presentations on that one. So, is Field Day a contest? Field Day is a picnic, a camp out, practice for emergencies. As Charlie said, we all need to practice for when emergency comes. And an informal contest, but most of all, Field Day is fun. Field Day is a time where many aspects of amateur radio come together to highlight our many roles. While some will treat it as a contest, other groups use the opportunity to practice their emergency response capabilities. Field Day is an excellent opportunity to demonstrate amateur radio to the organizations that amateur radio might serve in an emergency, as well as the general public. For many clubs, ARRL Field Day is one of the highlights of their annual calendar. It certainly is for us. We try and put on fairly good effort every year, and it's certainly fun, I think. And overall, we tend to do pretty well. So, is Field Day a contest? If you think it is, I would argue the contest part of Field Day is simply to contact as many other stations as possible and to learn to operate our radio gear in abnormal situations and less than optimal conditions. That's the part of Field Day when we go out to the remote field and set up with emergency power and everything else, rather than hanging out in our cozy little lazy boy chairs, watching a movie, and maybe casually making contacts.
I thought that's what you were going to do at your station.
So, talking more about what... I'm not sure what happened there. That was weird.
Well, at least it was
Field Day contest.
Conrad help you put this together?
Did you have my presentation, Conrad?
My attorney invited me on to answer that question.
So, is Field Day a contest? Our goal this year is certainly to score well, but more importantly, we want to have fun while doing so. Last year we came in 4th place. We scored 1st among the San Diego clubs, and I think if we go out, put forth a good effort, and just have fun, and most of all, I think in general we'll probably score well. So the objective of Field Day is to work as many stations as possible in any and all amateur bands, of course excluding 60, 30, 17, and 12, and to learn to operate in abnormal situations and in less than optimal conditions. Field Day is open to all amateurs in areas covered by the ARRL
RAC field organizations and countries within the IARU region 2. DX stations residing in other regions may be contacted for credit but are not eligible to submit entries. Great. Field day is always the fourth full weekend of June. So, for us, field day starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday for operating, and it ends at 11 a.m. on Sunday, June 23rd. So, set your calendar, set up. Field day, June 27th, will start at 11 a.m. on site. That will be on Friday, June 27th. Our goal is to arrive on site at 11 a.m., which means those of you who have offered to volunteer towing will have to arrive probably, I'd say, 2 hours earlier. That puts us at 9 o'clock at the tow wizard site. Collect the gear, make sure everything is in order, do one last check, make sure we're not missing any rotator pipes this year, and get the stuff to field day. We'll start setting up at 11 a.m. Setup generally takes, depending on how many people we have setting up, most of the day, running until about 5 or 6. So with that said, the more hands, the better. The more people we can get to come out and help us set up, no matter how much or little you can provide support, everything helps. More hands make light work. And of course, we need at least 1 or 2 people to stand at the corners and ensure that Mr. Murphy doesn't show up, because he is certainly not invited this year at field day. On Saturday, June 28th at 11 a.m., we will start operating. 12:30 p.m. is our lunch picnic. Tentatively, based on how we can get the planning done, we'll have a radio merit badge class at 1. That's the schedule we did last year. It seemed to work out well. So we're hoping, and we're still planning to do the same this year, but details are working on that. 6 p.m. we'll have our grand dinner picnic, and of course at 8 p.m. the NTS message net starts, so we'll be working on that. Operating commences on Sunday, June 29th at 10:59 and 59 seconds. Sunday, we will start tearing down at approximately 11:30 once we wrap everything up. Again, same with setup, tear down, the more hands, the better. Tear down is quite a bit easier than setup because it's just loosening bolts and yanking stuff apart. But then again, people like me who will be there the entire time will be tired. So the more people we can have to just provide an extra set of eyeballs, making sure we're all being safe and we're all still awake while we're tearing stuff down, the better. No experience is required to help with setup or tear down. Come out. You're welcome to watch if you want. Learn. It's a great opportunity to learn more about what field day is about, learn more about what amateur radio is about. Location. Our location this year will be the same location as last year and years prior. This is approximately 570 Rancheros Drive in San Marcos. If you're trying to get to it from the 78 heading east, you're going to take East Barham Drive, Woodland Parkway exit, turn left on East Barham Drive, turn left on Woodland Parkway, and turn left on Rancheros. As you head down the hill, there is an empty dirt lot that's right across the street from the San Marcos Sheriff Station. That's where we'll be. For those of you who need a little something more visual, I provided a map here. Might help you get there. That's not the map I originally included. Let me see what's going on here. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, heading down to 78, nice and easy exit. Left, and we'll be right there. If you're heading either direction on the 78, on Friday during our setup, it's pretty easy to tell where we are. Just look north and you'll see us. Other than that, the traffic generally likes to slow thereabouts right before where we're setting up, and it generally passes thereabouts right after. So This year, we're operating 4 Alpha as our class. The goal this year is to reduce ourselves by 1 station. This is going to allow to free up some of the clutter that we tend to have at the site with the bands and whatnot. It'll make setups a little bit easier, and it'll also free up 10 meters. This will allow GOTA station a little bit more freedom to roam around, try and get more people on the air. Last year, we had quite a good offering for the GOTA station, but one of the issues we tended to have is a lot of congestion with the main bands operating. So I think if we free up 10 meters for GOTA, that'll at least give us some wiggle room to get more operators on operating. Band captains this year for GOTA station, we have John, and of course 6 meters as well, WD6 FWE. For satellite, we're still working with Art. Maybe we can get him interested again. We need someone to help him set up his equipment and of course get it working. If we can do that, we might have Art come out again. I'm sure, I know I would love to see him there. I think all of you would too. He does a great setup and presentation. For 2080 CW, we have Ron, K2RP. For 2080 voice, we have Mike, NA6MB. For 1540 CW, we'll have coordinating by a whole bunch of different CW arts and another gentleman who's helping us out with that. And 1540 voice, we have Brian, AG6CF. Our site layout this year, this is a photograph of the site layout last year. We're looking at possibly changing it. Is Dennis here? From the south? No, he's not. So we've been communicating on this about email. And one of the issues we had was some interference with the 2080 CW and 2080 voice station. So we're looking at possibly putting these stations in the back and these stations in the front. That might separate them a little bit more. Plus, one of the thoughts is that 80 meters is the second harmonic to 40 meters, so we're not sure that we want 80 meters power down on top of 40 meters. But these are things we're looking at, and it will be resolved by field day. Safety. We had a number of work parties last year, and because of those, we are in great shape this year for field day. I'd like to thank everyone who came out last weekend. We did a work party to look at the 20-meter voice antenna, which had a element that was damaged. We repaired it. It's good to go. Tuned it. Or actually, I take that back. We didn't have to tune it. We tested it, and it's got a great match. So we're good to go there. But with that, we have had some issues in the past with safety. So we have created a safety policy to address those. Safety policy is as follows. Everyone who participates in work parties should be prepared for the work to be done. Safety items are personal responsibility. The work party leader will discuss the safety needs for the projects to be done. The leader will appoint the safety supervisor as necessary. The leader will conduct the work with the safety supervisor watching for safety. So with that said, those of you who are coming out to help set up, tear down, recommend bringing a hard hat while we're raising the antenna in case anything falls. We have had stuff fall in the past, and that's a rather large issue there. Gloves are always a benefit. Shaded hat, we're in the heat, and San Marcos can get fairly hot, so a hat will protect you from the sun as well as sunscreen, and of course lots of water. I will be bringing water for setup and teardown, so we will have plenty of water on hand, but certainly bringing your own and having backup couldn't hurt. Sandals. A lot of people like to wear sandals in sunny Southern California. I love wearing sandals personally, but at our field day site with heavy objects dropping, falling, being in the brush, sandals are certainly not a good idea, particularly at setup and teardown. So please keep in mind those of you who like to wear sunny Southern California sandals, not permitted during setup and teardown while working around the equipment. Where's Don? Come up here. Last year we did the Radio Merit Badge. We had there about, I want to say, 28 scouts attend field day, and all 28 scouts passed the Radio Merit Badge. The reason why we did the Radio Merit Badge last year, and we want to do it again this year, is kind of somewhere along the lines of the comments that Charlie made earlier. Getting more youth involvement in amateur radio. Amateur radio is such a great hobby, and I don't want to offend anyone, but some of the hands in here aren't getting any younger. Well, all of us aren't, but some of us are. So with that being said, the more youth involvement we can get, the sure the hobby can continue, the better we'll be passing down this great legacy to our successors. With that said, every year Palomar puts a rather large effort into the GOTA stations. And Dawn here has been helping out with field day for, what, 100 years?
And I've only missed 3 field days in the last 42 years. And basically, on at least 30 of those years, I have ran either the novice CW station or the GOTA station, depending on what it was called at the time. It's recently been called GOTA for about 10 years, I think, maybe 12. And before that, like I say, it was a novice CW station, and I really enjoyed bringing a station for novice CW so that people could get in and see how the young guys operate. Never operated very fast and never really got a lot of points, but we always had a lot of fun. And we had the first solar-powered station in 1977 on the novice station. And we've had 2 or 3 other years we had a solar-powered station, one of which was a total homemade solar station where we had some solar batteries that were charging up some nickel metal hydride batteries and a little 1-watt heat kit, I believe it was an HW7 or something similar to that, a transceiver, like 1 watt. And we only got 3 or 4 contacts, but we had fun trying. Always a lot of fun at field.
So with that said, I'd like to take a quick poll here. Raise your hand if you only have a technician class license or you don't have any license. Everyone who raised their hand, you do not require a higher class license to operate on the HF bands at field day. You're welcome to stop by, get on any of the main stations, just get with any of the band captains listed. But the main reason we have field day is number 1, to get the public involved with amateur radio and really to get their feet wet and get them on the air. But for you guys as well who might not have a chance to operate HF, GOTA station is available to anyone who does not have an HF license. You can get on, get your feet wet, have some fun doing so, make a few contacts, and then when you're ready, jump on over to the bigger band. For any of you who have a general class license or higher, but do not regularly operate on HF, maybe you live in an area that does not like high antennas, such as Poway, or maybe you have a homeowners association. You probably don't get to operate on HF hardly at all. If that's the case, GOTA station is applicable to you as well. This is information we had up last year about what is required to take the Radio Merit Badge. As you can see, there's quite a bit of planning and knowledge base that goes into this. So for those of you who have offered this year to help plan the Radio Merit Badge, your assistance is greatly appreciated. You guys can see here it's no easy task for the volunteers and certainly not easy for the scouts themselves to get on. They cover quite a bit of information about basic town theory and whatnot. Okay, food this year at field day. we will have the amazing Cycle Kitchen that has been featured at many parks events, from Field Day and the annual club picnic. In the past, it has featured, among other things, its delicious carne asada and famous tri-tip. So I encourage everyone to come out and visit us this year at Field Day and see what amazing culinary delights will be served. Schedule: Saturday, we will have breakfast at 7 a.m. On Saturday, around 12:30, we will serve lunch. Dinner on Saturday will be at 6 p.m. and on Sunday, we will serve final breakfast at 7 a.m. Apparently, we might want to chicken this year. We'll see.
Oh, boy.
I think Conrad's having fun with my presentation, but who knows? The best food will be served at 6 o'clock. All members are encouraged to bring a side dish, main dish, or dessert to share. I like to call this our Field Day dinner picnic potluck. Bring your favorite beverages as well. Bonus points: there's a lot that goes into Field Day that some people call the contesting part of it. There is a lot of different categories that we do things in order to earn these bonus points. But the main aspect of bonus points is not to improve our score. As you can see, a lot of these things are emergency power. So that's practicing or being adept and being able to operate in less than abnormal conditions. Media publicity, being in a public location, getting the public invited, having a public information table so that the public knows what we're all about and what we're doing, so that after they see how fun and exciting Field Day is, we can show them where to go to get a license, where to come for the meetings, etc. So a lot of the bonus points, although they do help our score out, they're intended to create a more visible Field Day for the public and really push what Field Day is about: having fun and showing the public all about amateur radio. Any questions? I think you guys are making it easy on me. No questions?
I have more of a comment.
Yes.
If you want, I can expand a little bit on the Radio America.
Well,
okay. Hi, I'm Kevin Walsh, KK86 FRK. I'm a scout leader and I'm also a Radio Mirabadge counselor. I'm actually also an Eagle Scout Service Project, and I'm the Mirabadge counselor for all Eagle required Mirabadges. So I've run a Mirabadge class for the Radio Mirabadge on 2 occasions. The most recent was actually in the spring with Nathan Pyle, and then at the Jamboree over the air in Callaway, Charlie, Brian, and a lot of the Palomar folks were there. So to do this on the afternoon of Saturday, I'm going to help do what we can to do that. To tell the truth, that's pretty aggressive to do the Radio Mirabadge in the afternoon. It can be done. One of the things that I'm going to query people, since time is, we got to move out pretty quickly. Is anybody here a registered scout leader, or have they been in the past? Great. All right. We can sync up later on. And then for those of you that are interested in becoming a Mirabadge counselor, either for the Radio Mirabadge or others, contact me. I'm just KK6FRK@AWL.net. And all you really have to do is fill out some paperwork. You do get kind of checked out, just like if you were a school teacher. You don't have to get fingerprinted or live scanned or anything along those lines. But this speaks to what Charlie and others have said here. When I do the Radio Mirabadge, as well as STEM, science, technology, and engineering and math, I give the Scouts scholarship information from sponsoring organizations. So both of the classes that I've done for the Radio Mirabadge, I gave scholarship information from the AARL. For those of you that have looked at your QST issue in the last year, there's an issue that talks about scholarships, and some of these are significant scholarships. And there's not just one or two. There's probably about 15, 20 scholarships that the AWL sponsors. But I'm going to cut it short scouts, scout leaders that are radio merit badge counselors. But when there's a requirement that the scouts need to get top time, the field day is a perfect time for them to get the minimum minutes of top time. So I think this is going to be good. What I may do, just to give you guys a heads up, is I may try to reach out to some other scout leaders to bring in another merit badge class to coincide so that we get another Eagle required. Radio is not Eagle required. But if we do an Eagle required, we'll increase our participation. So in any event, if any of you have any questions about this, contact me by email. I'm on Wednesday planning that, and I think we can make this happen. The goal is to get 20 scouts. Fred, who ran the merit badge class last year, he came for January over there. I already have an excellent set of slides, so I have all the material, and we've been battle tested on this. And Scout Age kids, I think you'll enjoy them. Most of these kids are pretty flag and squared away. So I look at this as an opportunity for the club as well to kind of see, what their potential future is. It's a challenge. You got to reach out, and I think software-defined radio is a welcome change. This is what young people are attracted to. Anyway, I'll stop there, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys.
That was great. Thank you. Yes.
Do you know how many radios are going to be needed for the Boy Scouts?
Good
Because
question.
last year, myself, Don, and Jim,
Yeah.
we used our radios
I
last
want
year.
to say we had 4 radios last year, 2 stations communicating.
Yeah, when you get 20 scouts, ideally, thank you for asking that, ideally, we need about, 8 to 10 operators available to work with scouts, 2 at a time for their minimum top time. We had no problems doing this at the Jamboree over the air with Charlie and Brian and others. I think at field day, based upon what I saw with Mike and others, and I know that Mike was, part of Jamboree over the air. A lot of Halloween people are veterans at this, so I think that we're going to be able to have a really successful radio merit badge and get that radio top time in there. It'd be great if they could talk on, multiple bands. We made some amazing contacts, like an island off the coast of Spain, and contacts all over the United States during Jamboree over there, which is like the Boy Scout field day. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Greg, what's the internal site 2-meter frequency we'll be using?
Good question. I'm thinking we're probably going to use 145.590. I will send an email out on that regardless as we get closer to field day. Any other questions? Yes.
Greg, do you want to maybe have your band captains wave so we know who we can talk to as far as...
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Any band captains that are here, can you stand up, maybe wave?
80-20 sideband.
Go to station.
2880 CW, and CW operators, Spark. Spark.
What is CW?
We want Bob for
Network.
CW. You gonna come for CW?
Yeah, one of the things that Greg said earlier is really true. Last year, I was on the 80-20 station, and people were just wandering around the site, and I had 4 people that I got on the air, three hams that had gotten their licenses within the last 6 months and had never been on the air. 2 of them never on the air, VHF or anything. One had a handheld, and one guy that was thinking about getting licensed, and it got him on the air. So as it's not a contest, so rather than get points for an hour, I said, sit down, and they struggle, I say, okay, when I tap you on the shoulder, say this, and I wrote it down. It's 6NWG, CQ, or call a guy, or whatever. And they got on the air, they made a couple of contests, and they loved it. Gail had, how many of those girls just, they were in line, they'd make 1 contact or 2 contacts, and then they'd get out, they'd be timed out, and they'd go around, and they'd get back in line, just round and around.
Yes.
Greg, is there going to be an entry kiosk for people who enter the site check-in, like a sign-up sheet, so these people that come in have somebody administering them and directing them to stations or to those, that there are coordination in that regard?
Good question. I'll refer to the site layout here. Generally, what we do for our layout each year is we have this center section on the rightmost side of our, this is the main entrance here for Field Day. We usually have a station here where there's other entrances, so we'll block that off. So since this being the main station here, we put our GOTA station right out front. They're the first thing, hopefully people will see as they're driving in. Right next to the GOTA station, we'll have our information table. That way, as they come in, walk up, want to know what it's all about, the GOTA station can say, hey, you know, this is what we're doing, grab some information. Oh, and by the way, get on the air. And then, of course, right next to there, we'll have our general hangout spot. So any of the club members who just happen to be hanging out, having fun during field day and chatting, it gives the public a chance to interact with them as well. Any other questions? 1540 band captain is Brian, AG6CF for voice. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I thought N6CY was going to allow us to use his K3 for second
Yes, that's
CW
the
station.
gentleman's name I was trying to remember. N6CY Rick.
Yeah.
He is assisting with the coordination of the 1540 CW station. So if you'd like to operate on that, or just, you know, get with him, his call sign at MSAT, I believe, is the best way to contact him. Or contact me and I will forward it off to him.
And so I told Rick, because I saw him recently, that he won't be there for the setup, but I will be there to set up his equipment. I'll arrange to pick it up
Okay.
before field day. Yeah, absolutely. But since we now have 2 CW stations, does that change our classification, or how does that?
No, because the classification was originally intended as us having 2 CW stations.
Oh, okay, all right.
The way the classification works is it's, for a 4 alpha, it's all the main stations being our CW and voice, plus any freebie stations. The freebie stations are GOTA, 6 meters and above, and if we do a satellite station this year.
And that was my other question. I briefly spoke with Art about the satellite station.
Okay.
And are we going to go ahead with that?
That'll be Art's decision.
I think somebody to come over and set the system up at least a week beforehand, and work at least 4 or 5 stations over this different satellite. And figure out how the system works, setting it up and not getting able to read them all the way.
Right.
So, if there's somebody who's willing to do that, there's a room set up in my backyard, the antennas, they're not ASL. They have a special system, usually a single rotator axis, you have to do calculations and set it up pretty fast beforehand. Well, it does work, and it does have automatic Doppler system.
And I'm willing to support
But the software hasn't been loaded since last year, and then load the caps in it, with several new satellites, probably gonna have to spend a half a day with the software before you put it up.
Well, I'm willing to do that if we're going to be set up to allow for satellite operation of the site.
Yeah, the way we've done it in the past is, and Art can maybe explain this better, but to my knowledge, the location of satellite is not dependent upon where the other stations are, because it doesn't really provide any interference to them. The location of the satellite station is based on how the satellites will be orbiting at the time and where he will need to point. So I have it listed down here as where we've historically had it, but that's just based on where he's needed to have it. Basically, it could be anywhere. That's as where needed, as needed. It doesn't really
That's going to
make
have
a difference.
it high, or if you can, because we have a unique situation. There's a lot of people in LA that run a lot of power. Our best time to capture the satellites is before LA can reach them. If you want to be as high as you can, because you've got some hills there in between, you catch the satellite before you get high enough.
All right, any other questions? Yes, Don?
Just a statement, remember that any station you want to operate on, as long as it's a control operator, you don't even have to have a license to operate it.
Correct.
The control operator's license is what you're operating with.
That's 100% correct. So if you do not have a license, you know nothing about amateur radio, you still want to come out and get on the air, we will have someone at the station.
And it doesn't have to, I'm not talking just about the GOTA station, I'm talking about the
No,
any
all
station.
stations are still big. That's how I first operated on you, Jeff, that's how I got interested in amateur radio. Any other questions? Yes. No. Yeah, we're gonna address that on the side and. Any other questions? All right, with that said, as you can see, we do quite a bit of work that goes into field day that's completely unrelated to it being a contest. But after all that is said and done, it still generally come out pretty good. So we hope to do the same thing this year. Whether or not you think field day is a contest, I think at this point it's irrelevant. As long as you come out and have the fun that you want to have, we will thank you all for coming out tonight and hope to see you at the next.
Before you go, I noticed this picture. You got a truck, you got a lot of space in between these cars here. That's not typical Sunday morning.
You mean
Okay.
Friday?
Well, Friday's not so bad, especially going to work. We're just getting there. Saturday in the afternoon, Sunday in the morning, those cars are probably about 30 inches apart and about 15 miles an hour. And it's all you guys' fault. That's okay, because the rest of that freeway is clean at 55, except for that little half, 3/4 mile stretch right there. Nah, it's just a minor. So anyone that come out there and help on Friday with the setup is great. Anyone that come tear down on Sunday is great. Anyone that come out here and have fun Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, let's do it all and have fun. Right? One last thing, for those that don't remember, we do have our board meeting next week on Wednesday. We have it at Al's house, and we're going to about that. If for some reason you got a question or anything you want to show up, just let us know so we can have you up for the Thank you, everybody. Come back next month and have something else to be fun.